MLBB Around the World is powered by Asus Republic of Gamers. The ROG phone is the official gaming phone of the M6 World Championships. It's the most wonderful time of the year as we get that much closer to the M6 World Championships. At your service, my name is Leo, and let me take you around the world as we check in with every single M6 competitor and a little peek at the wild card as we go through MLBB around the world. I'm gonna be splitting up this series into 4 episodes, with every episode having a group of competitors talking about their distinct metagame, their focus, their pacing, their picks, and what I think would be interesting matchups in the upcoming international event. This first episode will talk about contenders, teams from developing, well-established, and up-and-coming regions from all around the world. I'm talking about MPL Cambodia, MPL Singapore, and Myanmar. First up, let's visit Cambodia as we check in with MPL KH Season 7. Their representative this year will be none other than CFU Gaming, also known as Cambodia First United, and this is their very first season championship and their very first major international outing. I would describe their meta as aggressive, conversion-centric, and fighting-centric. When you talk about Cambodia from recent years, you are familiar with the names See You Soon and BurnX Flash. This time around, they've crowned a champion that has been finding it difficult to find their footing in the playoffs, but have been great in the regular season, and that's CFU. CFU have performed very well through the years, scored solid top 3, top 4 finishes, better in the regular seasons of the past MPL KHs, but this time around, it's that aggression, it's that micro focus, it's the outplays, it's the forced trades that have got them to this point. They're very micro-centric. They like these little skirmishes, they like these trades that make the opponents commit forced errors. That term, forced error, has become more prominent in recent months. And that's what CFU does. They like to play hard, they like to play fast. And fast is, I think, the exact term. It's neither an understatement nor an exaggeration, given that a majority of their games are under 15 minutes. Only 1 of 5 will ever go past 15 minutes. That's an average for CFU Gaming. And a lot of times, in the first 5 minutes alone, there would be more than a few kills in the first couple of turtles alone. And that goes for both sides. They're comfortable this way. They're comfortable with trading. They're comfortable with these skirmishes. And because of that, I think that's where their game plan takes them down a road more often, wherein they would punish their opponents for overextending into these kinds of spaces. Because they're comfortable with the violence, with the gore, but their opponents might not. So that's my finding, is CFU wants to fight, and whoever will make the mistake of thinking they're comfortable with fighting CFU will get punished hard. Because of their playstyle, some of their key picks are Cho, Gatot Kacha, Suyo, Luyi, often banned. They're also into the Bruno, which I think will be a key pick for these team fighty metas. You'll hear more of this later. And of course, a Pocket Julian who has a oddly high win rate under CFU, Detective specifically. Detective is a big name when it comes to Cambodian MLBB Esports. The Khmer love Detective, I love Detective. And I'd like to put a spotlight as well on Z, who is the finals MVP. That's CFU Gaming's mid laner. And of course, I'd also like to put a highlight onto Zing, their gold laner, who could take care of himself from the early to mid, but more often than not, it's in that power spike area, about the 8 to 9 minute mark, wherein he just suddenly switches, and all that early violence now makes sense. It was for him to have space to farm up, and for the opponents to have a false sense of security and say, yeah, it'll be fine, and then suddenly Zing takes off. These many factors make me think that CFU Gaming, Cambodia, Khmer MLBB would be a great match against Myanmar, against the Burmese, against Falcon Esports. Why? Is because the Burmese also like to fight, maybe for different reasons. in my opinion, which we'll cover more when we talk about Falcon, is they actually have a macro sense. It's more of a big picture view that just translates into early team fighting, into aggression. As for CFU, the way I read it is just they really like forcing these skirmishes. They really like these small payoffs that lead up to the bigger picture. So you see the difference, right? It's top down for Myanmar, and for Cambodia, it's bottom up. Like they're building up towards that big finish. So I would like to see how their aggression and their speed match up, and what kind of pacing that kind of matchup would look like. Myanmar versus Cambodia, definitely should be fun if they somehow end up fighting in M6. I already mentioned Myanmar. Let's talk about the Myanmar M6 qualifier winner, the champion of that best of 7, Falcon Esports. They went all the way against Mythic Seal, and they really pushed each other when it comes down to their micro, their macro, their pocket picks, their strategies, and I think they should be one to watch. The last time we saw them was in MSE 2024. They were in top 8, and it was unfortunate that they had to face off against one of the titans of MLBB from the Philippines, Team Liquid Philippines, but I think this time they should come in better prepared. Talking about the Burmese meta, a lot of teams there, Falcon included, like to trample through. Like that's the playstyle I see them doing. In essence, they want to end fast or play the map for a comeback. That's it. There's just two options. There's no middle ground. Very rarely do you see a game that just squeezes through with a punish. It's always, I will end right here, right now, because my payoff came in first and I was able to set it up. Or you make a mistake and I flip it on your head at 18, 19 minutes. Like, that's often what happens in Myanmar. There's rarely any in between. On the surface level, it might look like the Burmese are very micro-centric. It might look like they want to fight. It might look like they rely on their mechanics alone, the lane to lane, but not just for Falcon. I can say this is true for the likes of Mythic Seal, the likes of AI Esports. It's very macro-driven. It's very big picture, top down. This is what we want to achieve. So we know what to do at this level from the very start of the game to force and to eventually get to that point. So it's macro-driven micro mechanics that push through for the Burmese. That's Burmese MLBB. They're very fast-paced, as mentioned, from the early minutes, from the first and second turtle. They have their clear picture of how to win. And more often than not, 11 to 12 minutes, like that's their sweet spot. Frequently, that's where Myanmar games end. But if you're going to average it out, given that they do sometimes have these 18, 19, maybe 20-plus minute games, very rarely though, you still have an average of about 15 to 16 minutes. Talking about their specific picks, they really like their Hylos. Again, I mentioned earlier, they like to trample through. So that's the perfect hero to set up a fight and get your allies into the position that they want to be, that they need to be in. Suyo, definitely still, I think, the #1 best jungler in the game right now. Phoveus, an XP laner that likes to push forward. Jushin, a lot of Jushin specialists in Myanmar. CC, Alpha, who I think is maybe the meta killer. Like, he can go toe-to-toe, 50-50 at worst, at best, even with many jungle picks right now, so he's likely to get banned. And Bruno, who maybe just tied with the Kamai, love their Bruno. Like, this is a hero that is online early game, has a solid mid-game power spike, and then come late game, if you just need to push, Bruno's your guy. As early as mid-2024, y'all know that the heart and soul of Falcon Esports is their young jungler, Dax. Everyone plays the role well. I cannot take anything away from the full roster of Falcon Esports, even down to their coaches and their management, but Dax is a standout. Even then, even in the early days of the Assassin meta. So what more now? What more now? There's a lot this kid can do. There's a lot this team can grow. And I would like to see them face off against Indonesia. Indonesia's so-called brawl meta just likes to fight, sometimes for the sake of fighting, right? It seems like non-stop they will just keep forcing these fights, and sometimes these fights would last long enough for some of their allies to respawn and respond and then re-engage over and over again. I don't think the Burmese are comfortable with that. I don't think that's what the Burmese playstyle is all about. So, with that said, will Indonesia's aggression and Indonesia's innate violence reveal weaknesses in Myanmar's trample through strat? We don't know. Will that 11 to 12 minute average come down to like 9 or 10? Or will they have to be more of a comeback team? Or will they have to play more of the defensive role and allot the beatdown to the Indonesians? If they face off in M6, we're going to find out. And last but not least, among the contenders, among teams that are almost to the top, we have MPL Singapore's Season 8 champions, NIP Flash. Back-to-back champions, made it to the top 4 of MSC 2024, if not for Selangor Red Giants. More on that later. NIP Flash are coming in, and I think it's safe to say, with consultation from some MPL SG talents, shout out to my boy Deadeye, and I think this sentiment rings true through a majority of them. We did not see the real NIP Flash. Their full potential and the limits of their playstyle were not put on display in their own MPL. Like MPL SG Season 8, there are reports of NIP Flash playing around with the roles, switching it up from player to player, picking crazy things such as a fanny mid, or again, this isn't even a meme, like it's real, like people are afraid of this. We saw it in MSC, the mid Martis, and you combine that with MPL SG's forward calendar. Like they are a much shorter season than most, and they were on the upfront of the calendar. They front-loaded their calendar before all the other MPL. So that means in the dawn of the Assassin meta, they were the first to really dig in. This team came through with role excellence, their diversity and their flexibility. And at some points, you would think, oh, dude, they're just playing with their food. They're trolling, as chat would sometimes call it. So with that said, what exactly makes MPL SG's champion tick? What makes NIP Flash so excellent? One would say it's that mid-trio rotation. It's Kurt Easy, more often than not JPL, they still do have Lolzy on the roster, and Kurt Easy. Like, it's these three owning the map. It's these three's clear understanding of their mechanics, of their heroes' limitations, and how they can rotate and influence the rest of the map. Plus, Diablo's willingness to rotate out of his lane, be the damage source, be the peel, be the vision. And really, I didn't think there was much room for Diablo to grow, but everyone will say Diablo is a whole different beast in Season 8. Moving forward. And big picture-wise, what that means is NIP Flash is one of the standout teams in MPL SGs because of their macro-centric gameplay. Yeah, sure, mechanically, lane per lane, they are, bar none, possibly the best from lane to lane, right, in MPL SG. But that is only possible because it leads up to good macro. And they're able to bully their opponents into submission, and they're able to play around, quote-unquote, because of this one-track mind. They're able to use that and translate that mechanical excellence into macro gains, and that's why they're so dominant in MPL SG. So with that, the rotations from mid, trio, plus the influence of Diablo, you're leaving Vanix free, right? You're leaving that gold laner free. It feels like there's so much happening in the map. It feels like it's such a fast-paced game, and most of their opponents were left in the dust. And I got a lot of reports from casters saying it felt like a 16, 18-minute game, but in reality, it was under 12. It's because of how fast NIP Flash moved. It's because of how much they're able to achieve on the map that their opponents can only react with so much action. And that's why the games felt longer than they actually were. And I guess it's perfect for them because, you know, they put the Flash in NIP Flash. With that said, some of the key picks for NIP Flash here would be the Benedetta, which again was innovated on by Diablo. Cannot confirm if he was indeed the pioneer of the tank Benedetta with the Revitalize that just cuts through lanes, gets in, gets out, you know, but was first seen in MPL SG. The Hayabusa, the Ling, of course, you're talking about Batampasa, you're talking about Hades. The Phoveus, still, that's a Diablo hero. And of course, these mid nightmares, the Fanny Execute, the Martis on Curtizi. So now that we talked about the heroes, which players are making this possible for NIP Flash? It goes without saying, it's still partly true. Hades Esports, right? You have that mid-trio rotating, mostly with Hades at the lead. JPL, Akihiro-san, and Curtizi will follow through with their diversity, their veteran wiles. That's what makes that happen. And of course, the most improved, the ever-innovative Diablo. No longer can you just start banning the Badangs, right? You can't just keep doing that, because now he's shown that he's more than willing to adjust to the team, to be the secondary roam, to be the initiator, to be the vision, to be the peel. What can this handsome devil not do? Going into M6, I'm excited for them to face off against Malaysia's SRG. Selangor Red Giants, MSC 2024 champion. They dropped NIP Flash in Riyadh, leaving them with a top 4 finish, which is nothing to scoff at, by the way. Like, I'm proud of what NIP Flash have done, but just the same, the matchup against Vamos would be cool too, is because, think about it, Vamos is the new Homeboys, and NIP Flash dropped Homeboys in MSC. So that would be a cool, full circle revisiting of those two storylines. More so the SRG situation, because think about this, both teams actually are taking a break between their last outing since their grand finals and the World Championships.
Vamos in Snapdragon?
Yes, they are. Vamos is playing in Snapdragon as of recording. So we will see them in action. So you'll know how they grow, you'll know what they're cooking. But SRG and NIP Flash, we're pretty blind. So with that said, I want to see the Singaporean champion face off against their, their rivals in Malaysia. See how that works out. Those MSC 2024 rematches should be pretty spicy. And with that, I hope your palates have been teased enough for a trip around the world, talking about what these teams bring to the M6 World Championship. Let me know what are your thoughts on the contenders of M6, the champions from MPLSG, from MPLKH, and from Myanmar. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, click like and subscribe. Shout outs to my man's Ray Ash, and of course, into the handsome, beautiful, intelligent, and hard-working talents of MLBB Esports from all around the world. You guys are great. And to the coaches and to the players that I've consulted for these videos, thank you so much. Maraming salamat. Terima kasih. I'll see you guys very soon in Kuala Lumpur. Watch out for the next episode of MLBB Around the World. We'll be talking about the newcomers. We're covering MPL Latam, the China M6 qualifier, and the wild card. Y'all take care. Peace.